Good morning, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to the Premises Personal Licences Subcommittee on Monday, the 17th of June at 10 o'clock. The membership of this committee is myself, Councillor Joe Henderson. We've got Councillor Bill Davidson, and we've got Councillor Adrian Smith, and we've got Councillor Dan Casey with us this morning. We'll move to the first item on the agenda, which is Chairman of the meeting. The subcommittee will elect a chairman for this meeting. Thank you, councillors. I would like to move on to number 2, which is apologies for absence and substitutions.
There are no apologies. We're all present today, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Item 3 on the agenda is the minutes of the last meeting. We need to confirm these, so if we could have a proposer and a seconder. Councillor Davidson and Councillor Smith. Thank you. Number 4, which is declarations of interest. Do we have any? None. Thank you. So we move on to item 5, which is the report of the Assistant Director. A1, temporary event notice, left field, High Birch Road, Wheelie. Reference TEN OP stroke 5161 stroke 24 and TEN OP stroke 5162 stroke 24, which we'll find on pages 7 to 22.
Thank you, Chair. We're here today to hear an application submitted by Mr. James Kingston for 2 temporary event notices under the Licensing Act 2003. The applications are in relation to left field, land off High Birch Road in Wheelie. The first application, reference 10op 516124, is in relation to a multiple day electronic music festival between the 21st of June and the 23rd of June for the sale regulated entertainment and late night refreshments. Times applied for is 1800 hours to 0200 hours on the 21st of June, 1100 hours to 0200 hours on the 22nd of June, and 1100 hours to 2300 hours on the 23rd. The finishing times for regulated entertainment is 2300 hours each day. It's noted on Mr. Kingston's application that he states, with the agreement, we will close down the main FOH stage system at 2300 hours on all days and run background music during the serving hours. The second application, 10op 516224, is in relation to a 3-day, 2-stage local live music, folk and blue festival between the 12th of July and the 14th of July. Licensable activities applied for are the sale of alcohol on the premises, related entertainment, and late night refreshments. Times are 1100 hours to 2300 hours each day. Essex Police and Tendring District Council Environmental Services have been consulted as standard practice. A representation has been received by the Environmental Services team as a responsible authority in relation to both of these temporary event notices. This can be found on pages 17 to 22. Each application must be considered in its own rights and on its own merits, and how it may impact on the 4 licensing objectives: the prevention of crime and disorder, public nuisance, public safety, and protection from children from harm. All of the relevant human rights information and Section 182 guidance are available in the report. The location of these temporary event notices can be found on page 15. Members are reminded that this location does not currently hold a full premises licence under the Licensing Act 2003 and therefore can only accept or reject the temporary event notices where a counter notice will be issued by the local licensing authority. These are two separate applications, so we'd need two separate decisions when you come to that. Chair and members, you're therefore asked to determine both applications, taking into consideration the application and the information available, including the information from Environmental Services and Mr. Kingston today at this hearing. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you from our licensing manager. I'd now like to ask Katie Wesley-Smith, our Environmental Protection Manager, to put her case. Thank you.
Thank you. Environmental Health have objected to the two temporary event applications for the multiple day electronic music festival dated the 21st of June 24 to the 23rd of June 24. This is due to ensure compliance with one of the licensing objectives, in this instance, prevention of public nuisance. Environmental Health have concerns over excessive noise and loud music from the site, including the finishing times of 0 to 100 hours. Previous event in relation to a 3-day, multiple-day electronic music festival, which took place over the May Bank holiday, officers from within this team originally objected to the application and rescinded that application in order to give the event organiser an opportunity to evidence good noise management from the site. Officers were not satisfied throughout the monitoring of that weekend that good management was in place. Given the location is within a rural setting with existing low-level background noise, a number of residential properties within that area, complaints were received from several residents in relation to the event. So what we've also looked at is the number of events that have been requested and the frequency of such. In relation to this one, there was an event that occurred this weekend, and obviously the next one is this application is due to occur for the following weekend. We have concerns not necessarily over the overall noise levels in line with appropriate guidance. However, what the concerns are the base levels of the noise, given that they can carry 1 to 2 kilometres from the properties, from the site towards the properties. We've received formal complaints in writing submitted to us via online report it forms, and we've also received verbal complaints from residents whilst we were out doing our noise monitoring. We are not satisfied in relation to the multiple day electronic music festivals that the noise can be managed to such a point that it does not cause a public nuisance or a potential statutory nuisance to nearby residents. Therefore, that's why we have put forward our objection to this event.
Lovely, thank you, Katie. Have members got any questions for either Michael or Katie? Mr. Kingston, have you got any questions that you would like to ask from either of our officers today? And if you've got anything you'd like to address us with today, this is your time. Lovely, thank you.
Oh, thank you. There's me requiring technical services. My name is James Kingston. I've been an event professional for the last 30 years, both in the UK and internationally. I am the managing director of Intersonic Productions, which is a production company that works within the local area. We have been involved in large festivals across the country, and we've been involved in smaller festivals here in Colchester. And this is our first time coming to tendering district councils. It's all right. We came to tendering to bring, the party that or the series of events that we're proposing at Left Field is of a wider series of events. So it's not just the two that we're talking about or the two that have preceded. It's a total of 7 events that we want to hold on to the site. And these are a mixture of both electronic music of events, and they're a mixture of, say, funk and soul and other events with regards to like folk festivals and things like this. So one of the things that we want to do, and we kind of put that in our application process, is we are not, we don't want to come and destroy the social fabric of the area. That's not our intention at all. Our intention, in fact, is to hopefully bring more arts, entertainment, and culture to the area and to the local residents. All of the local residents that we have spoken to have been invited to come to the festival. And on the bank holiday weekend, we were happy to see that 19 of the local residents from the local area directly around the site had actually come to the event, and they had a wonderful time. We had a lot of really positive reports on Facebook groups in our defense, actually. Now, whilst we understand that there has been complaints, and we do take complaints seriously, as a company, we have undertaken a huge amount of effort to control the noise on the site. The first of that is we built a temporary structure on site, which is soundproofed to a certain degree, to reduce the main infecting noise is the bass music that you hear from the site. And so we've put large Heston bales, which are just large agricultural bales. They're about 2.4 meters long, and they're 1.2 meters wide. They weigh 1,000 kilograms. We've put almost 130 of those bales around this building to control the noise. Further to the complaints that we had from the last event, we've reacted to those complaints, and we installed the services of Rob Miller from F1 Acoustics. Rob Miller from F1 Acoustics is the principal sound monitoring engineer for Glastonbury, small festival you guys might have heard of, and other major festivals across the UK. The reason that we invited Rob to come down and do a background noise survey, once again, at a great cost to ourselves, was because we are interested in controlling the sounds. You know, if we were just a normal event that just wanted to come and put on a rave, which is how this is being, kind of put out there, which is not the intention, we wouldn't have gone to the extent that we have to control the noise so far. From this weekend, I don't know if I have any questions. Did we have any complaints from this weekend, Miss Wesley Smith? We did. And were they monitored by your team? And do you...
Officers from the team were out monitoring, yeah.
Okay. And do you have LEQ readings for that?
We do, however, as you're aware...
Excuse me, if you wouldn't mind, I don't mind 1 or 2 questions,
no
but I'm chairing the meeting, so if you could come through me, if that's okay.
No problem. So we employed Rob Miller to come and do background readings for the local area, and this was established at between the 44 to 48 decibel range on the background readings that he had taken. That report has been provided to Environmental Health Services. I don't know if we can confirm whether that has been received. And we also put a subsequent noise management plan in once we had received Rob Miller's report. Now, throughout the event that we had on Saturday, we were monitoring the sound ourselves at regular intervals. I have all of that data currently available if anyone would like to see that or have a look at it. And we were within the sound regulations that were set for us by Rob Miller. Now, in the United Kingdom, when you're doing multiple events on multiple days on the same site throughout the year, those sound readings are reduced drastically. So at the nearest noise sensitive property for us, if we were to do one event, it would be 62 dB up until 11 o'clock at night. When you're doing multiple events, this dB limit is reduced because of the nuisance over the multiple days that might be incurred by the residents. So that's been reduced by a further 20 dB. So that's where we come to our 46 dB subject. Now, on the weekend in question, we had extremely inclement weather conditions, both with heavy driving rain coming from the south, which can affect noise instruments. I don't know if environmental health have the same issues that we did with regards to that, but we've accounted for that as well. We have taken some time to kind of find out the local Facebook groups and to make a presence on those Facebook groups so that people can actually talk to us directly. We're very open to people just coming up to the site. And the further events that we're putting on, especially the Funk and Soul Food Festival, which is one of the previous applications that I rescinded, but that's one of the applications. And one of the purposes of that is to put events on that the local population can come and enjoy. And we're inviting them all for free. At our expense, we're putting on, we're getting the headliners, we're getting the food vendors in, and we're inviting all of them to come down and enjoy the site as well. There is a wider planning permission on the site for a glamping site, which has been in place for many years. And obviously the owner of the land would like to expand his business. He would like to see his the reality of his glamping site come to light. And we as event organizers, he brought us in to control the events, to control the sound, and to build a professional relationship with both the council and other members of the public that live around the area. And from our perspective, we feel that the best way to do that is, one, to control the sound in conjunction with the Environmental Health Service. And we feel that we are working with them every step of the way. I feel that there was from our readings alone, there was an improvement from the previous event. Obviously, I'm sure Environmental Health can speak on that further. But we would also like a kind of, there is an understanding that, you know, with every area that we bring this to, in the United Kingdom at the present moment in time, from the festival perspective, the music industry in the United Kingdom is a £14 billion industry. And the festivals in the United Kingdom, of which there was 936 successful festivals last year, that's festivals that went well and made a little profit, and they're going to be okay this year. Out of all of those festivals, 1/3 of that £14 billion is from festivals. Now that's direct and indirect monetary economic benefit to the areas that we bring these events to. The indirect economic benefits are Airbnbs, garages, hotels that are all sold out for the events. The caravan sites, they've also got people that have booked and they're coming to our events because they, you know, maybe they don't want to camp in a tent, so they're going to go for an Airbnb or they're going to go for that. That's all local economy. The farmer who delivered us the bales, he lives less than a kilometre away from the site. And that was a very direct benefit of him. That's £2,000 straight to that farmer to bring down all of the bales and do all of the work. Over the course of the 7 events, which is not possible with one event. So the differentiate between the one event and multiple events is that with multiple events, we can actually create jobs. And a very important part of what we're doing here is we're able to create 20 local jobs, potentially 50 local jobs. On the folk festival alone, we've got 75 local musicians, bands, single musicians, people that you know go to open mics that never get the opportunity to play on a big stage, never get the opportunity to play. And you know, any one of these people could be Ed Sheeran. You know, we're fully aware of how that happens, and from the grassroots, in this country, and this is for DJs as well as it is for live music. The grassroots in this country is what this country is known for. And one of the biggest soft power exports from this country is our music and our festival scene. We're trying to preserve that. Now, obviously,
can I just ask you to come back
sure.
to why we're sitting here today?
Yeah, of course.
Obviously, it's quite interesting to hear about the festival, but if we could come back to the issues of why we're sitting here today, that would be
Well, the
helpful.
reason that we're sitting here
Thank
today
you.
is that there has obviously been some local objection to what we're doing, and which we understand. You know, there is always going to be people that kind of complain and don't want things to happen. We're very conscious of that, and we've spent a lot of money so far trying to resolve that and work with the environmental health service as we are at the present moment in time. I'm fairly astounded that the folk festival got objected to. I mean, we've got a guy on a double bass that's, you know, obviously it's amplified sound, but I understand with electronic music you have a repetitive bass beat. And that's one of the things that annoys the local residents the most. But with the technology that we have today, we're actually able to take specific frequencies out of what you can hear. And so, for instance, the 40 hertz to 50 hertz range, we can actually remove from our amplifiers, which is the 40 hertz to the 50 hertz range is the range that you get complaints at a longer distance from these events. It's that bass sound that you can kind of hear that's annoying. And we can actually control that on site. And we have statistics and figures from our last event, which we registered, and we were well within the limits that were set by Rob Miller from F1 Acoustics. Rob Miller is beyond reproach with regards to his professionality. He's been in this business for 30 years. And he set those limits based on the guidance that we were given by the Environmental Health Service. So, you know, we're here today, but hopefully not to argue the point for the two that are in contention, but we've also got 3 other events that are coming as well. And we would like to see that, you know, as a business, we're able to maintain that we are bringing something culturally significant also to the borough. You know, if you were to talk to younger people in the borough as there things for them to do, I think that would be quite limited. And we feel that we are bridging that gap. Unfortunately, with these kind of events, we have to go to a rural area because it's not just something that you can throw in the center of a densely populated area. You have to go to where there's less houses. And whilst we did have several complaints, there was 250 plus houses surrounding our site. And, you know, out of those 250 plus houses, we had 2 complaints that were actually attended. And we were called on the night, as maybe as in the report. And I answered that telephone call within 2 rings, and I reduced the volume immediately. On the second complaint that we had on the first, we were not called at all. And we were not called at all this weekend, despite being, you know, giving everyone our phone numbers so we can be called.
Thank you. Councillors, do you have any? Could you turn your microphone off? Thank you. It's the button with the face on it. Oh, it's off now. Thank you. Are there any questions? Councillor Mr. Kingston. Councillor Davidson.
Mr. Kingston, how many people attend this, roughly, these events? And all that, I listened to you saying that you're keeping the noise down, or doing noise control. But how do you control the people going to and from the site at 11 o'clock at night and 2 o'clock in the morning? How do you control the noise that they're going to make onto the residents that live in that area?
As far as I'm aware, we don't have complaints in that regard. We've had no representation from the police that there was any antisocial behaviour beyond the site.
But it's my understanding that there's been some.
That's the first I'm aware of it.
Yeah, but I'm just saying they've got to take into consideration
of course
that you're controlling this. It's abnormal. But what concerns me is 300 people coming off of an event, alcohol fueled. It's just a bit the same like a football crowd, and they will make a lot of noise. And I'm just wondering how you could govern that.
So for the event that we had on Saturday, there was 4 shuttle buses that were bringing people backwards and forwards. So that limits the amount of traffic that we had on site. There is no pedestrians leaving the site at all. Everything is either by cabs or by the shuttle buses. So those people are loaded into the cabs and shuttle buses kind of quite high up into the site. So that's not happening near anyone's houses. Once they're in the shuttle bus, they're taken off the site. So you've got no pedestrian, the kind of antisocial behaviour that you would associate with pedestrians, that sort of thing. That isn't actually a problem for us.
Thank you. Can I just ask you, say the shuttle buses, where do they take the people to from?
Straight back to their homes in Colchester.
Right, so is it a taxi or is it a bus?
Yeah, it's a taxi service. Yeah, it's small vans. And for
also,
the 3-day events, obviously people are camping on site, so they're parked.
Can I just ask also, have you got any proof with you of the musicians definitely booked for either of both of the events that you are holding?
The proof for the ones that are upcoming.
Yeah.
Yes, we've got. There's multiple. There's a whole kind of list of artists that have been published.
Have you got any evidence that they are booked or?
I can get the evidence. That's not. But I didn't realise that I'd have to bring that. But yeah, they are.
Just a question. And obviously, you say sort of other acts and stalls and things that are there. Mm-hmm. Have you obviously got evidence that they are booked?
Yeah, we've got conversations with them. It's very difficult at the present moment in time, obviously, for us to confirm bookings with agents when we don't know where we stand. This has been very economically challenging for us so far with regards to our ticket sales, et cetera, because they've had to be, for our smaller events, they've had to be private. For our folk festival, they're selling tickets, but obviously with the provisory that if we don't have the permission, we'll have to refund those tickets and we'll have to cancel those artists. So yeah, there is economic damage that will happen to us and is already happening. And hence,
you say with you're very experienced in this. I would have thought you would have had some sort of management plan in place, not just conversations with people. Have you got anything written down
with the promoters
rather than just conversations?
Yeah, so with regards to booking local artists, you don't have the same contractual obligations that you do with major artists. For instance, if we tell them that the festival's not happening, they'll all be disappointed. But there's no contractual situation with us. We've got about £3,500 that we would be paying to those local artists. That's the budget we have, and the promoter goes away and books the artist they have without the promoter being here next to me, but they do the bookings.
And can I also come back? Obviously, on Saturday, the weather was absolutely dreadful in this area. Yeah. So do you think that would be a true record of a normal event? Because I know if I was attending an event that was outside and it was raining, unless I was really wanting to go, the likelihood is I'd think, I won't bother going. So you were possibly down on numbers.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, we were lower on numbers on Saturday than we hoped to be, for sure, because of the weather. Well, there was a twofold thing. We got the permission to do the event a week before the event. So obviously that has an impact on ticket sales. With the festival industry and in the way it's going with ticket sales, it's a very, very difficult climate for us at the present moment in time. It's probably one of the worst climates that we've had since we've come back out of COVID. There's a number of factors that affect all of that. One of the things is that we have a barn and a covered roof, so the customers know that at least they're going to be out of the rain, but what we had on Saturday on site was extraordinary. And one of the issues with extraordinary weather conditions, both with wind and rain, that can have a very challenging effect on the amplification of the sound. I.e., you could end up getting a noise complaint that's 7 kilometers away that you wouldn't have expected, because the wind can actually blow the noise in that direction.
And what effect does that have? Obviously, you say you have shuttle buses and taxis coming in because of the venue itself. How are they able to access the site when it is really bad wet conditions?
They were fine. I mean, the site is a farm site and obviously needs upgrading, but we're in a position at the moment that without we can't, we've got a tranche of investment that we would like to make in the site, i.e., improving the road structure and all of the other things that we can do, including increasing the soundproofing that we currently have, which is an option that's available to us. We have a lot of options available to us, all of which are very expensive. But without commercial viability, it makes it very difficult for us as a company to make those investments. And we would like to, work with everybody and have this work, and obviously if it doesn't, we'll have to find another site in another district and we'll have to make it work there. But there is a very strong economic statement that can be made from these events happening. And, I suppose that has to be weighed with the public concern for the noise and whether that can be managed. And, it's from our readings that we have taken over the weekend, they were very positive for us. But to be fair, we've taken positive readings before and they didn't turn out the way that we expected. I mean, but we didn't receive any calls at all over the weekend from the Environmental Health Service.
Thanks. My last question, do you feel that the residents might not be quite so concerned if there was less frequency of events? Because when you look at the list, it seems to be you're sort of wanting more and more sort of 2-day, 3-day, rather than just a couple here and a couple there. Do you feel that will have an impact on those residents?
I think that, obviously any kind of change in if people live in the countryside and there's a change in that environment, that's going to have an impact on residents. We can't deny that that's the case. But I think when we have a program, it's unfortunate that the way that the program has worked at the moment, that we had events back to back. That's something that we are trying to avoid doing, so that won't happen in the future. We'll have enough space between each one of these events, so it's not happening every single weekend. With regards to the 3-day festivals, if you do a 1-day event, there's a huge amount of, especially if you're putting on an event that's effectively in a field, you're effectively bringing everything to that field. So you're bringing the infrastructure, the power, the toilets, everything, the bar, everything's being built for that event. As you can understand, that's an expensive process to do all of that. And the only way that you can get the economic value back out of that is to do it over a 3-day period, because you get the bar sales, which help. And the reason that is because we try to keep the ticket costs down. So when the UK average ticket cost for a 3-day festival is currently £147. So that's across the length and the breadth of the United Kingdom. Our ticket sales for a 3-day festival are £65, which is half that price. The only way that we can deliver those kind of prices on the ticket sales is to have a reasonable shot at the bar for those 3 days. If we only do it on 1 day, the 1-day ticket event price has to then include all of the infrastructure costs. So now that 1-day ticket price is too expensive, and now no one comes to your festival because it's too expensive, or you don't get the ticket numbers. So there is an economic point to that. Now, one of the ways that we try and mitigate that is we invite all of the local residents for free. We don't charge them any ticket prices at all. They can come and enjoy the entertainment as well, whether it be the Electronic Festival, which is private, and that's an invite-only private festival that's been going for 13 years.
But you probably have to accept that wouldn't be everybody's
no, of
experience.
Course, 100%. Which is why we're trying to vary the lineup that we have. So the folk festival definitely is probably more cup of tea.
Thank you. Any further questions? Yeah, Councillor Davidson.
In your speech, you said that you put buffers in place all around. You put sound buffers in place. Was that in place at the last festival, or is it something you're going to do? Okay. All right. Thank you.
We're improving on that every single time.
Right. There are no further questions. Will. Oh, Councillor Smith.
Sorry, you said that Rob Miller and yourself had feel that you've worked well with our environmental team. But it would seem to me that if that were the case, we wouldn't be here now. This wouldn't be opposed. So somewhere along the line, your feeling of working well with them hasn't actually been right. So I don't know how we resolve that.
To the information that they are giving back to us, but it does seem that that the whole kind of everything that we want to do there is opposed, which is a difficult commercial situation for us. And obviously we do this across the country. We deal with other councils, we deal with other environmental health agencies, and we are open as always to work with them directly. I mean, we had our sound recordings that we took over the weekend for us were very promising. We were given a limit by Rob Miller, which was between 46 and 50 dB. 50 dB if you take into account that you start and stop it when cars are going past. And we were well within those limits for the weekend. So from a statistical, actual evidence-based approach, from a scientific-based approach, we were within our limits. Now, obviously, that does not take into account the Environmental Health Services team, who have the right to supersede that information and determine a nuisance.
Can I ask, would Katie or Michael like to come back, obviously, with any questions?
So, obviously, as you're aware, Mr. Kingston, we've had a number of meetings in relation to these events, and there were several times we requested a noise impact assessment be performed in relation to this by a qualified acoustician to give us an idea of the existing background levels. Then, based on the background levels, when you look at relevant noise guidance, and dependent, as Mr. Kingston rightfully said, dependent on the number of events that you wish to hold within a calendar year, the level of noise is then determined by those in line with the guidance. The first event, as we were unaware of the background levels because there was no noise impact assessment performed, we asked for those. Now that has been done, and obviously the noise impact assessment was performed, but that was only submitted to this local authority on Friday morning, so on the 14th of June. The level that's been stated is either originally was discussed was 65 dB of an LAEQ over 15 minutes or plus 15 dB above the existing background level. The acoustician's report clearly outlines that with the corrections made, the existing background level, including the plus 15 dB above, is 46 dB LAEQ, not 15. In addition to that, that's only when this has then been transferred into a noise management plan, which was also submitted to us on Friday morning. It only has been put in between the hours of 1900 to 2300 hours, so no consideration has been given in regards to during the day. This weekend, noise monitoring was performed by officers from within the team, but given the adverse weather conditions, any sound recordings that would have been taken would be classed as null and void due to the increased wind, due to the rain. So it was down to officers on site and their professional opinion whilst they were out. Officers during the day were out, advised that it was clearly audible, which it would be given that this is not a defined closed space, it is an open area. So environmental factors do play a huge part in that. In the evening, a monitor was performed by myself and another colleague between 2230 and 2300 hours. The LAEQ at that time, given that the noise management plan states that it should not exceed 46 dB, the LAEQ at that time over the 15 minutes was 54.8 dB. However, I will caveat that by saying at that time, there was vehicle movement to and from the site. There were also people leaving on foot from the site, which was also apparent on the previous
Excuse me, can I just ask what you're doing on your telephone? Okay, thank you. Because obviously Katie's talking to you, so thanks.
So As advised, any sound recordings that would have been taken during the day, dependent on the time, would not be suitable in regards to put forward due to the adverse weather conditions, hence why officers from within the Environmental Protection Team, when they went out to do the monitoring, did not use the sound level meter because, as I said, the adverse weather conditions make that information null and void. There was one performed in the evening, as I said, because the wind had dropped and there was no rain. That was high, but in all fairness to that, that wasn't necessarily the overall sound of the noise from the event. That included the vehicle movements to and from the site. I will also state that obviously Mr. Kingston's advised that there were shuttle buses and or taxis that were taking people. The vehicles that we saw that we were advised by a security officer looked like private vehicles moving people to and from the site there. There were a number of pedestrians walking down the track onto the main road to go to what's known as the Albion Bath Centre, which is adjacent to one of the nearest noise-sensitive residential properties. So there is concerns over that as well. We did see, as I said, we were there in the evening and we were approached by a lady who was unable to provide us with ID, but told us that she was security for the site and requested to see our identification whilst we were there. We did choose to show our identification as officers from the local authority. However, we were not on the private event site. We were actually on an authorised piece of land for the owners of the noise-sensitive receptors, so we were not really required to provide that, but we did do. However, we were not given any evidence in regards to what they were saying they were as well, so there was no ID provided to us. I will also obviously say that Mr. Kingston has advised that there are 250 plus properties along the section of Rectory Road, Heath Road and High Birch Road. I would say that this is incorrect. There is not 250 premises. And additional, as I said, we did request on a number of occasions prior to these events taking place that Mr. Kingston look to undertake a noise impact assessment if he is serious with regards to continuing the events on the site. This was slightly contentious, and obviously we went and tried to negotiate, and Mr. Kingston did agree to drop the finishing time for the first event from 2 a.m. to 1 a.m. And Mr. Kingston is correct. I did call him on the evening of one of the events, which was on the 25th of May, and a telephone call was made at 23:59 hours requesting the level be turned down. Mr. Kingston made attempts to do that and asked us to stay on the telephone whilst he adjusted the sound. However, even with the adjustments, the baseline was still audible and was, from the information that we've received, audible within one of the noise-sensitive receptors. As explained, we do have concerns in regards to compliance with these levels and willing to work with us. We just feel that if we had had more of a productive relationship at the very beginning of this, we would have less reservations in regards to continued compliance with the noise management plan and the noise impact assessment. The noise impact assessment, as advised, was received on Friday morning, the day before the event. It was sent to our offices at 7:30 in the morning on Friday for us to assess and have a look at, which we are satisfied with the report, the information that Mr. Miller has put through. We've also had a telephone discussion with Mr. Miller and advised him of what our concerns were. But as also outlined, the noise management plan is only looking at the noise levels between 7 p.m. and 11 p.m. and discounting anything during the day. So I do feel that it's prudent to mention that the events are starting at 11 a.m. So that will be noise from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m., which essentially it would appear that is being advised that that's not included within the noise management plan. And I would also like to point out the hertz levels that Mr. Kingston has mentioned to us. When you're doing an octave analysis, we would be looking at the 63 hertz and 125 hertz. I'm not aware of 40 or 50 hertz, and the levels of those will be regards to the bass that comes out and is emitted from the bass speakers should be set to a level of 60 dB. So all encompassing, as I said, I believe we have concerns over the frequency of the events and the ability for those to continue to be managed without causing an undue and adverse impact to residential properties.
Thank you, Katie. Obviously, I'll allow you to come back briefly, Mr. Kingston. Thank you.
Thank you. We took LEQ readings throughout the day, also before 7 o'clock. And I have all of the evidence of those LEQ readings, which I can share with the Environmental Health Agency. When we have adverse weather conditions, and I'm sure we can discuss this, the L90 reading also becomes significant. That's the reading that's 90% of the 15 minutes versus the LEQ, and that takes into account cars going past and inclement weather conditions, et cetera, We actually were in contact with Rob Miller during the event to discuss with him what the impact of the rain and the wind was. And obviously, we do come to the same conclusion so from our perspective, we tried to do the sound measurements when we didn't have as much inclement weather. So at 1420 hours, our L90 was 41 dBA. At 1440, our L90 was 40 dBA. At 1630, our L90 was 40 dBA. And this is at two different areas. One is on Rectory Road and one is on High Boat Road. At 1630, our L90 was 40 dBA. At 1845, our L90 was 34 dBA. To give you an idea, just for people in the room, a normal speaking volume is around 50 to 60 dB. So just normal speaking, not shouting, and so these limits and the dBA figures that I'm giving you are far below speaking volume. And this is outside within a meter of these noise-sensitive properties. At 1900, 7 o'clock, our L90 was 33.5. At 2142, similar time that the Environmental Health Service were out, our L90 was 33. The LEQ for that period was 54, but that would be taking into account the inclement weather. From our perspective, everything that has been said is correct. And, you know, firstly, I mean, our security service, we've documented who the security people are, so they're not, we've put that in our management plan. It's a very, very well reputable security company. They do Wembley Stadium as one of their companies that they take care of. You know, we come to this with as much professionality as we can. Unfortunately, the shuttle buses, one of the shuttle buses encountered some mechanical difficulties, so there was a lot of people that were calling cabs, and the easiest place they could call a cab to was the Albion bathrooms. Once we were aware of this, we actually stopped people from going down the road. So several people did go down the road, so it happened. But from our perspective, you know, we've got actual sound readings. Now, the reason we didn't put it in from 7 till 2300, or we have only focused on the 7 to 2300, is that was when the agreed timing with Rob Miller and the Environmental Health Service was done to record the time. So we figured that was the time that we need to put into our noise. Obviously, we've got evidence showing that we were well within those limits. We weren't just smashing it out during the day. There are other events in the area that are much louder than our event by some considerable margin. And we would like the opportunity to be able to work further with the Environmental Health Agency. The fact that we are here and the fact that we've spent as much money as we have, just to give you an idea of an acoustic survey cost. Now, we were told that we had to do an acoustic survey, or it would be preference that we would have an acoustic survey before our next event. Now, we had 2 weeks to have that prepared. Now, as you can imagine, with 900 festivals in full swing across the summer in the UK, the acousticians who do this work are very few and far between. Rob Miller drove 4 hours to come and do the survey on the Thursday night. He was only able to do that survey. He had to do it on Wednesday night because of inclement weather. So when you do the noise survey, you have to do the noise survey when there is good weather, no rain, so you can get the best possible recording. We got that recording from Rob Miller on Wednesday, and we prepared it into a report, and we got it to the Environmental Health Service by Friday. That was prior to our event. That was not a requirement, by the way. for us to do that. There was no requirement from the Environmental Health Service for us to do that prior to that event. We chose to do that. As a business, we have chosen to do the right thing every single time. And, you know, okay, you know, fair enough, there is a commercial element to this, but I don't think that, I don't think in any way that that should be used against us. Surely there should be encouragement of this sort of commercial activity as long as we can prove that we're not legally going beyond our bounds. And we have the proof from the entire day that we were legally not going beyond those bounds. And that is the proof that's set up via the noise control paper that we eventually got a hold of. I will say that it took us some time to actually find the document that the Environmental Health Service was referring to. We eventually did. And and Rob Miller adhered to that to the dot. So, you know, we do have analysis from the day, scientific analysis from our LEQ meters. But, you know, at the end of the day, if someone is standing on someone's doorstep and they determine that it's a nuisance, then I guess it's a nuisance. And that's very unfortunate for us because we had informed the Environmental Health Service that we were spending all the money to get this done, and to receive the objection after we've followed the guidance was disappointing.
Thank you. Obviously, following on from wording that you said, which other councils have you worked with for different events and in which areas?
Braintree District Council. Most of our events were with Braintree District Council, Bury St Edmunds District Council, Chelmsford District Council. Obviously, Colchester is the main thing for Castle Park. We work a lot in Castle Park with the ALB Festival. We're the main production partner in that, which just got voted the best festival in East Anglia by People's Choice Awards. So, you know, we're very much, you know, we're not here to just cause nuisance and cause problems. But there has to be, and I would be amiss by not saying that there has to be a democratic element to balancing other people enjoying themselves and having a weekend off.
And what's your outcome been with the other festivals? What's the outcome been with the other festivals in those areas?
It's been largely positive.
Have you encountered any other
problems?
Yeah, of course.
You know, I think whenever you're playing electronic music of any kind that's amplified, you're going to run into issues with noise. How you control those issues is kind of how that sets it up with the council. We had a really, really good run with Braintree District Council, where we had one site for nearly 6 years. And
Can I just ask why you're no longer at Braintree?
That was because of a noise complaint.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, an MP moved into the area and quite political.
Have we been in touch with any other councils? Sorry.
Yes, a query was put out to some of our counterparts within some of the other local authorities, and we had a response back from Chelmsford City Council in regards to out-of-hour complaint that they received about an event that was unbeknownst to them taking place. The senior public protection officer there considered serving an abatement notice in regards to continued events. However, from the anecdotal information that we've received, they did hold discussions with the site owner and Mr. Kingston himself in regards to a temporary event that was due to take place. They had concerns over the 3 a.m. timing. It was agreed that that would be finishing at midnight, and then the event came through and it was again put forward for 2 to 3 a.m. They were then advised that the event was pulled at the last minute for 2023 due to poor ticket sales. I will advise as well that the year in 2023 is when we received 4 separate complaints from residents that came into us at the end of September, which outlined complaint details for two events that took place in July and one in September, which we were not aware of as the local authority. So further investigations were continued by our colleagues in licensing in regards to land ownership at that time. I will obviously also just advise that we did request a noise impact assessment be performed for these events on the 14th of May, which was 7 days after we were notified of all of the 7 temporary events that had been submitted. That was during a safety advisory group that took place, chaired by Mr. Fox, Head of Public Health and Public Protection. So that was requested on the 15th of May. Subsequent meetings that took place, it was then advised again to Mr. Kingston that we wanted a noise impact assessment following the event that took place in May. An online meeting then took place on the 3rd of June, where Mr. Kingston advised that he would do his own monitoring of the site, and then on the 6th of June, Mr. Kingston agreed to have a noise impact assessment performed. Obviously, we then had concerns because we said that that's quite late in the day for us to receive a noise impact assessment to give it the relevant review that it required, and then to outline any concerns. So I will rebuke that statement. It was originally asked for on the 14th of May.
Thank you. Mr. Kingston.
In regards to the Chelmsford events, we actually had 2 successful temporary event notices in that time, not just the one. And our noise for the one that was cancelled, which was cancelled for poor ticket sales, we were originally at 12 o'clock for our first 2 events, and we got an extension to 1 o'clock for our next event. And that was due to us controlling the noise. So unfortunately, that event didn't go ahead because of the ticket sales, but that's just unfortunately one of the problems that we have at the present moment in time in the festival industry. With regards to the other events that happened on the site, they all occurred well within the framework of private parties, which is a well-determined framework in the United Kingdom. Whereas if you're not selling alcohol and you just have people on site for a private party on private land, that is authorised as long as it's under 499 people.
Thank you. No further questions? We're going to retire and obviously have our deliberations, and we'll be back. Thank you.
Thank you very much.